Yes, so this is where I started from last time, but I'm just gonna
Okay.
go a little more into today, mostly on the. I mean, you're very good already with the conditional execution, right? So you know about if statements and how to make
Yes.
decisions, branching statements in Python, right? So
Yes.
yes, okay. So basically, the point of these ones is you don't always want to, naturally code will execute sequentially from top to down, but
Mhm.
there are points where you have to make decisions, and based on which outcome that you get, you're going to follow a different line of computation. And that's where this comes in. I know it gets very tricky, but yesterday I put some question in the forum. I don't know if you saw it. It was a very simple question.
Somebody worked on it.
Yeah, somebody tried it. The solution wasn't exact, so but I came in and gave something that could work.
All
And
right.
and with things like that, usually you want to work with functions, which I haven't gotten into too. But let's see what we can do today. All right. So I'm gonna just cover briefly those topics, and then so let me jump into the code.
Okay.
What IDE do you usually use?
I was using Visual Studio Code.
Okay, that's fine. Usually more suited for development, right? But
Yeah.
if you're more into the data science, perhaps you want to look at Jupyter. Jupyter
Oh,
notebooks, yes, is more interesting for doing computations in data science. Yeah, because it allows you to add both annotations, text, and then your
mm,
computation together in one, and you can easily bundle the output, and it's really nice to share all.
I think
Okay. Mhm.
they only limited us to Visual Studio Code because, like I said, it was the foundations into it.
Yes. Okay.
That was
Okay.
pretty short.
All right. So let me start with something.
Mm,
Today, I want to look at loops. Okay. So
mm,
usually in computation, when you have to do repetitive, calculations and stuff like that, then we are looking at loops. And
mhm,
usually when you run loops, you're looping over a certain number of items, and that's where data structures come in. So,
mm,
I mean, looking at loops and data structures together makes sense. So, for example, you can have a list of students in a class. All right.
mhm,
And let's say
mhm.
these are the names of the students. There's Ed in the class, and then there is Amo also in the class, and maybe there's another one here, and then there is one more last person here. Let's say John. Okay.
Mm.
Okay. So now what I've already done here is a data structure actually in Python.
Yeah.
And do you recognize this kind of data structure here?
Yes, 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 yes. I do recognize. I think you are
Okay.
bringing my mind back to what I learned. One thing I
Yes,
was also told is when you learn programming, you don't practice, you forget.
you
But I
forget
think
very
this is
quickly.
reminding me of what I did. I think that's it.
Exactly, exactly. So yes, what I have done here is a data structure, and it's
Mm,
called a list. So in the simplest case I have done here, we have a list of names here. Okay, so let me
mhm,
just run this line and show you the output. So if I show you the type, let me just show you here. I always like to do inspections of the variables
okay.
that I create. Just to let you know. It tells you that it's a Python list. Okay. And for the list, you can have several combinations of different types of data. Now, let me show you one thing here. Now, this same list that we have here, it gives you several ways to access the items that are in it here. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4 items here. Okay. And before even we go into that, let me run this. Okay. You could also have told the length of the list by just putting it into this inbuilt function in Python, and it tells you that it is a list of 4 items. Okay. Now, when you want to access, the items in this list, Python also provides a way by which you can do that. Okay, so you can just walk straight and then pull out this single item, or you could pull out that particular item. And it does so by assigning some indices to each of the items here. So the way Python also does the indices is that it starts from 0. Okay, so if you wanted to index into this list of students here, what you will provide to the list or to this variable is to provide an index of the item that you are interested. And because it's 0 based, the first item is index 0, the second item is index 1, like that, up to the last item here, which is 1 less than the length of the list, right? If you see, because of the way we are actually doing the numbering. So it's very simple. And so if we just go here and we want to have access to the first item, we just put index 0 here. And it gives us the value there. Okay.
Okay. So from what I'm seeing, is that the software you are using is the IDE you are using is Jupyter, right?
Well, this particular one here is Spider. Behind the scenes is also running the Jupyter kernel, which they call IPython. But yes.
The reason I asked that is with I don't know whether it's because of the IDs that is being used. With the Visual Studio Code, if I want to print the head you put out, I mostly will type print, then I'll type student. The student will be into brackets. Then I have the square bracket. Then I'll print the 0. I'll type the 0. Then I close the square bracket and the bracket. Do you get what I mean?
You mean this?
So in Visual Studio Code, if I want to call out head, we mostly use the command print. I don't know if what you are using, you don't use the command print. Because I realize you just type student 0 and it's printed head for me.
Yes, so it is. Okay, so if you're running Visual Studio Code, you would have to perhaps pull out the console. Okay, it has a console that allows you to do good. So if you wanted to get this kind of interactive feedback that displays results automatically like that, then you need to run in the console. Otherwise, yes. But programs like this one or Jupyter Notebook just allows you to, it displays the value of a variable for you straight away when you put it in a, for example, a Jupyter Notebook cell. Okay, so and if you're working in the console, every variable that you put out there like that would automatically display its contents to the console like that. Okay, which means that if you were to index into Word, the same thing would happen. So I like to play with the console like this. Otherwise, if you're not playing with the console, you can write all the lines of code here and then ask yes, and then just run everything together in one line here by asking Python to find this file, and then it will skip everything that is inside. Okay. So this is as simple as a list can be. And now you are wondering, oh, these are all names, right? They are not numbers, they are just
Yeah.
names. And the type of data, can you tell me
Please
what?
come again.
So if you look at this collection here,
Yes.
it is made of names, which are basically
Okay.
text
Yes.
based data. Okay, and
Mhm.
you can find that piece of information here. If I access the very first item, I can also
Mhm.
check the type. Okay, now this is it. I can check the type like this and put it in the type function,
Mhm.
and it tells me that
Okay,
it's a
it's a
string.
string.
Yes.
Okay, yeah,
Okay, so we have a list of strings, but the
sure.
the list is not only restricted to one type of data. You can have
Mhm.
a list also of numbers only, depending on how the data is coming about.
Mhm.
Something like this. You can just have something like this is just a collection of
Mhm.
names. So it can be someone's name, person one, and maybe a certain number that is there, maybe a
Sure.
mixture of different types of data, something.
It's all right. So.
Yes. So you can have this list too, and it's a valid one. That one is also valid the same way that we can index into the first one. We can do the same thing.
Mhm.
Yes. Now, this might not look interesting to you until you start working with files and you understand files like CSV.
Mhm.
If you know what a CSV file is, it's
Oh,
basically like your Excel, but
okay.
yes. And so the way CSV work is that it has columns and rows, and the
Okay.
columns. So let's pretend that this is a CSV data. Okay, you would find
Mhm.
a tall list like this, and you may have several rows of data. You could just have one line of data in it, right? But the way it does this is that it has rows and columns, and each row is on its own line. Each column
Okay.
is specified by a comma. So let's pretend
Okay.
that we have a table of names. Okay, so let's pretend that
Mhm.
we just want to have a table where the first column is the name of a person, the second column is age, and then let's say the third column is the class. All right, so we are in a school, right? We just want to collect some pieces of information on the students in the class like this. Okay, so we could also represent that here in this form. Now, this is, as I explained here, this list here can contain all kinds of data, right? So in our simplest case, we just had a collection of here text and numbers of different kinds. This other one was like just text. You could also have a list that contains other lists. Okay, so you could have something like this is the first column, first row, which is just these headings, right? And the next one is age. The next item is the gender. And then let's say the next one is the class in which the students are. And then we can go down and say, so let me format it well, okay, so that it's easy to see what's going on. Okay, so typically, let me do the proper thing. Okay. And I'll close it off here. So we can add another row to that one. Okay, make sure that it's looking good. And so we have the first person that is Ed again. And this one is, say, 10 years old. Okay. This one is male. And then he's in class, let's say 3. Perhaps we are trying to constitute a football team for our class. All right, then we come to another row, and then we have another boy here that is let's call him Jerry. He's also 11. Okay. Oops, sorry.
Okay.
Yep.
At
And
the
then,
first, you put the 10 in a string. Was it intentional?
oh, great. That was a mistake.
Okay, all right.
This one too is here, so good. Now, you can have something like this, which is
Yeah.
valid as far as Python is
Yeah.
concerned. Only
Yes.
it doesn't allow you to perform some kind of computations. But
Okay.
if you were to, for example, do a mathematical computation with this, you could still find a way to convert it back to a number.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And sometimes when you read data from CSV files like this, you might have to work on these kind of conversions. So in
Okay.
fact, this mistake here is very important when it comes to real data that you're working with it, because you're also interested in the analytics. This mistake here is good because it shows you how real data can be so messy and it's not in the format that you expect it to be. So this kind of it's good that you had an eye to be able to spot this mistake, right? Because it's very, very important. Great, but our illustration is sufficient. Okay, so I can go on and illustrate to you. Okay, so if we check out our CSV, you can see the way it's printed. It doesn't look nice, but it has a consistent structure which we can easily, you know, allow it would easily allow us to reconstruct the table structure that we had here, maybe do some computations with it and stuff like that. And with this, let me quickly introduce the loop, because what would happen is that now that you have a collection of
I think
several
one of my
lists.
biggest challenge learning the Python was the loops. Yes, I think the loop side. I had a very hard time understanding it.
Which
Yes,
shouldn't
yes.
be the case. Very, very easy to understand. The
Yeah,
reason why
yeah.
loops come in handy is because of situations like this when you have a collection. And for each item that is in the collection, you want to perform some kind of operation. And this structure here allows us to do that perfectly. So what you might want to do is that, let's say the very simple case, we want to display each item, okay, in the CS variable. Okay, so let's try the first one. And that's very easy, almost trivial. Okay, so what we are going to do is Python gives us this for, and when you introduce the for is going to allow you to pick one by one each item in the variable or which is a collection, right?
Yeah, sure.
So what we do is let me write the full thing so that you see. For each
In CSV.
yes, very good. What do you want to do? Just print each. Now maybe this might not still sound nice to you. So I want to say for, let's say, every item. Okay, so for item in CSV, or you could use it. So I like to use variables that are very descriptive, because then it translates very easy into the language that I speak in my mind when I'm writing code. Okay, or if you look at what is happening, we have several lines here,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Good. And each line represents a student.
Mm-hmm.
So I could even name this variable here as for student in CSV. You understand? So you could name it anything. Okay, I want to print that student. So
I
when
think from what you are saying, that you like to use languages you are conversant with when you are speaking. I think that's one thing my lecturer also stated, that Python is more flexible and easy because it's just everyday English
Yes.
in programming. Yeah.
Yes. So one of the things that is always recommended is to use variable names that are friendly,
Mm,
easy to
mm.
remember. Okay, mnemonic names. So let's run this line here and see the output. Okay, so you can see that it takes each line
Okay.
and displays
Yeah.
it just as we want.
Yes.
But you could do more than just that. Okay, let's say you just want to save, you know, collect all the names. See
Mm,
just the names and save it in one variable. So we just want to how do we do that? We want a variable called names that
variable
might,
code names. Okay.
huh?
So maybe.
For now, let me instantiate it to none. Okay. We want to store all the names, only the names.
Mm,
How are we going to do that? You still recall that we have to go line by line through each record for the students that we have, right?
mm-hmm.
Good. And maybe you can tell me the next thing that we can do.
Okay. Just to print out just the names, right?
Let's say, okay, yes, print out just the names.
Okay. So that's for students in CSV.
Mm-hmm. Let me
Um,
write your solution first.
I hope I get this thing. Okay.
Uh-huh.
For students in CSV, print name.
Okay,
Oh, no, wait.
let's see how you're going to use the name.
Uh, print name.
Okay, forget about
And I
this name variable first.
okay.
So how would you go about it?
Print. I'm trying to remember from what I was taught in the
Okay, maybe I can help you a little. All right, so if you look at this name, it is also a collection. And remember, I told you that the
yes,
collection
yeah,
is indexed.
index, yes.
And you can use the index to find the item in the collection that you want.
Oh, yes, true, true, true.
So how would you find the name in this item?
That's zero, right?
Very
That's
good.
index zero, yes.
So you index into it and then you can print only the names.
Mm,
You can see.
yeah.
Okay. But this time we don't want to just print the names to the screen. So I'm going to leave this line as it is. That was the first one. We want
Mm,
to save the names to this variable here. Let's say it's also another list. Okay,
okay.
just a list of the names. And remember, this is just an empty list. Okay, it
Mm,
contains nothing. Python
nothing. Okay.
allows us, yes, allows us to, and we'll talk about the methods later, but it allows us to add items to an existing list.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And there is a method. In fact, if you want to inspect, see all the methods that are available on the list. Okay, you could take a look at it like that. And there's
Mm,
a tall list of properties and
mm,
methods. Down below here, you would see one method that is called append.
okay.
See, there's one count, there's one extend, there's one
Mm,
index, insert, pop, remove, reverse, and sort.
mm-hmm,
And you can already guess the meaning of some of these things, what they will do, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So this variable here that is meant to collect all the names, we are just going to use this method here, append, that allows you to add items to an existing list.
Mm,
So we want to print this time. But each time we pick a name, we will append it to the names variable. Okay, and you easily do it by using the dot mutation, and you bring out append. And what are you going to append? You're going to append
That's
yes.
student. Okay.
Okay. The first item in the student variable.
Okay.
And this is it. So if we do this, nothing, we don't see anything but it's saved out there. Okay. But we can inspect the names variable to see. And you can see that it is a variable of only the names. Does it make sense? Is it clear?
Yes, it makes sense. I'm trying to get it very well, make it more clear for myself. Okay, so from what I'm seeing here, the CSV has name, age, sex, and class. Then we
Yes.
have the head and his details, Jerry and his details. Now we came to, for students in CSV, we should print students, where the student will be the name, the age, the sex, and the class.
Yes, this whole thing.
Yes, all right. Then the names is equal to nothing in the box. I'm trying to get it very well over there.
Okay.
Because what is confusing me is I think in the CS we have name, there was no S. Over here we have
okay. All right. This here is just a data point. It's just an item.
Okay.
This one here is the name of a variable. This is a variable.
Okay.
Good. Let me take you here. So this ID I'm using allows you to inspect the variables that you have.
Okay.
If anything is a variable, it brings it up here, and you can see from the top all the variables that I declared are here.
Okay, sure.
So names is a variable, but this name here is not a variable. So you can see that names contain. Okay, now maybe you're confused. I can just call this, in fact, this actually here is not a data point. They are just the headings. Okay, they are just the headings. I could easily remove them. Let me remove them, and instead of deleting them, I will just comment this line out. Okay, and it would just look like this, but I could add one more row at the top just to make it 3 so that it looks nice. Let's call this one Paul, who is say 12 years old and also male and in class 4. Okay, so does this one help? Oops, sorry, what did I do? Yeah, I missed a comma. Okay, great. So this should, yes. So now if we do this again, okay, and we inspect, in fact, I don't have to print anything. You can see it's still the same. All right, so this line here is no more the problem.
Okay. Okay.
Because I've removed it. Let me just delete it. Okay, it's no more there.
I think that's not my problem. My problem is, okay, you said the names is
a variable that I have declared here.
Okay, but it is not associated to any of them above.
It's not associated to anything. You can call it anything you want. Let me just change it so that it helps you. This time I want to call it names list. Okay, but I have to use the same here and change it so that, okay, so you can see it's not connected to anything. It's just another variable.
Okay.
And if I want to check the names list, I'm getting the same thing.
Okay. Okay.
So the
Oh,
reason
okay. I'm not getting it. So what I'm getting here is you've
Mhm.
assigned a variable names underscore list,
Yeah,
and it has nothing in it. But
yes,
now you called it out for student in CSV. It should give you names list, and you appended it with
that's
the
right.
student in the zero, which is the first
The first item.
names. Okay, I get it now.
So what is happening is, and it's deliberate because once I do this, it brings out a lot of the features of the data structures that we are inspecting. Okay.
Mm, mm,
Yes. See, we can do a lot of things quickly for you to see how the whole thing ties together. Now,
mm,
this is a list. Okay. Now it's a top level. This is our top level item. So
mm,
when you do your loop, okay, it's it just goes through and picks each one of these. Okay, the loop will bring these because these are individual items within this top
mm,
level list.
mm,
That's what you get the first time you run it. And we have seen already here that
mm,
you see it will pick just each item because that's how the list behaves. This
mm.
tall thing here separated, the comma tells you where the individual items are. So
Sure.
as far as this top list is concerned, this is just
Mm,
one item.
mm-hmm.
This is just one item, and it can be
Yes.
anything. This is also one item. So the
Sure.
first time that you run through it like this, it will give you all the individual
Everything.
items like that.
Sure.
Yep. But because this is a list, if it were another data structure, we would also treat it differently. But
Mm,
yes, the first item is what we want in each of these lists that are embedded within the outer list. And that
mm.
we pull it out using the index notation here, give us the first one. Okay.
Sure.
In the same way, if we want to collect the ages in
Mm,
another variable, okay. So the reason why we are doing this is if you went ahead to run your loop, okay. Now
mm,
let's say if you went ahead to collect all your, let's run this loop.
okay. That's for students in CSV.
Mhm.
We have age. Okay, you deleted the age, so that
Yes, but I wanted to do this for you to see what happens. Age
okay, all
is
right.
the append.
The students, that's one.
Last one, so what would be the index?
Okay, last one, the one, two, three.
3.
Yeah.
Well, is this going to work?
No,
Tells
I don't.
us yes,
Yes, age is not defined. Okay. Okay,
yes,
so you have to define it as a variable first before you can call it.
yes.
Okay.
You can
Okay.
use only what is within the namespace. If the program doesn't see it, you cannot use it.
Hmm.
And if you don't
Okay.
store it in a variable, you can't have access to it. You can only print it to the console like this, but
Hmm.
it doesn't save in memory. Okay, it's just there and it's lost. You can't use this for anything.
Hmm.
And so the only way we can make use of this ages variable is to first declare it.
Okay.
And
Then
so
it's
these are some of the conventions that you will learn as you program more.
hmm.
So
So,
we,
but I think also aside we giving it a variable,
Mhm.
where we have for students in CS, we print student, we can put into bracket also the three. That's the square bracket three, and it will print only the ages, right?
You could do that.
Oh, okay. So
So here,
giving it variable makes it the loops, if I'm getting it right.
come again.
Assigning a variable to it makes it a loop, if I'm getting it right.
Not necessarily. The loop is this.
Okay.
Now there are two things we are looking at here. Okay, let me help you with um a simple example. Okay, so this one here, Let's pull out a single student, okay? Oops, okay. So let's call this one first student.
Mm.
Okay. You see this?
Yeah.
This is the first student.
Mm.
Okay, if we check out the first student, we want information about the first student. We just index into, or we want the name. The name is at position 0. We can pick out his name.
Okay.
Do you understand? We
Yes,
want
please.
his age is at position 1, right?
Yeah.
So we can get 12.
Mm.
And then we want the age, which is at position 3, based on the 0 index, and we get 4.
Mm-hmm.
So this part is how you index into a list item.
Okay.
That part is clear.
Yes, please.
Good. If you didn't want to do this and all you were interested was to just have access to all of these variable, these data points one by one, you could just do something like this for, let's say, info, okay, in first student, okay, because each item in the list is an information about the student, right?
Mm-hmm.
We want to just for now print to the screen, print the info to the screen, okay? And you see, it's the same thing. So the for loop is what allows us to repetitively display each item to the screen.
Okay.
Now, if we are not using the for loop, we could still print each item to the screen by doing something like this. Print first student. Oops, sorry. It's occurring on the wrong line. Now first student. And I'll index into it. I want to print the first item just to save me some typing. Let me just copy and paste.
Okay.
And then I print the second item. Then I go ahead and print the third one. And then I print the fourth one. If I didn't use the loop, okay, this is how I would manually run through the lines and print each item.
Okay.
Let me see. Oh, this shouldn't be 4, it should be 3, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see that?
Yes, yes, I did.
Great. So if we don't write this loop, you see 2 lines. And we want to write 4 lines.
Okay. Okay.
Or however long this list is, we're going to write this number of instructions before we can have access to each of the items.
Okay.
Good. So if the goal is to collect all the individual items in your list and use them in some kind of computation. In our computation, this is a very simple computation. We just want to print it to the screen. But in a more serious situation, it's not just printing to the screen. You want to do something more meaningful with it. Yes. So this is what advantage the for loop allows you to do. It allows you to get access to the items in a collection with a lot of ease. Does it make sense now?
Please come again. I didn't hear your voice.
Yes. So I'm saying that this is the advantage the for loop gives us.
Sure.
Yes. Okay. So now I think this point is clear.
Yeah, it saves time from typing or the number of details in getting the details on display, like, as an example from what you said. So the loop, just you type in a short code and you can get all the details you want.
Basically, yeah, basically. But then the most important point is
Okay.
that now this is a very simple list. Okay, let me get you a very tall list.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then see how and why the loop is important. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let me call this a tall list. Let me see. But I can do this like this. I think I can do this. And I don't want to introduce anything difficult. So let me just do range of 100. And let's see whether, okay. Let me inspect how long this is. Do you see?
Mm-hmm.
It's a list of 100 items. If you want to see, I'll just bring this list to the screen. Do you see?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Maybe now the reason why a for loop is interesting can show up in this situation. Let's say
Okay.
this is a tall list of numbers. Okay. I want to sum all the numbers in this list.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Okay.
What would I do? You know, summation. You have to take the items one by one
Mm-hmm.
and keep adding.
Mm-hmm.
You see, now what you could do is you could just do something like a tall list, take the item 0 plus.
Okay.
Do you understand? And keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you can keep going and going like that. And this will give you a nice sum. You see, but why do that? The reason why we are programming is to make our lives easy. So
Sure.
if you still do a lot of hard work when you're programming, then you're not making good use of the program.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
You understand?
Makes sense.
And so this is where the for loop comes in. Okay, it allows you to get each one of the items in the list. We loop over. We say we loop over the collection, right? Fetch each one by one.
Okay.
Very good. So now this is a very painful way to sum things up. A nice way to sum things up, okay? And there are simpler ways I'll show you later on, okay? Is
Okay.
I've told you we want to store the variable, okay? We want to store the result. You know that
Mm-hmm.
if we don't store the result, we can have access to it. So let's say our simple solution is we will pick the first item, okay? Sum it to the second one, sum the third one, and keep accumulating. Okay, we are compounding. Okay, let's say we are compounding the result. Okay, so let's just say we have a variable called accumulator. Okay, which will accumulate the result. How do we even spell this? Or let's just call it total. Okay, to make it easy. All right, the total for now. Let's just say it's 0. Okay, we are starting from 0. We know we are going to get a number bigger than 0 anyway.
Sure.
So this is where the for loop comes in. Okay, so for each number, okay, so let's call it for number in this tall list. All right, and it's a tall list of numbers. Okay, what we want to do is that each number that we pick here, we add it to the total. Okay.
Okay.
And if you want to see it in action, I'm gonna do this so that you see. I'm gonna add, and the addition, this is how we do the addition. Okay, and I'll show you why it's like that. You understand this line? Now the computation is done from the right before we go to the left. This part is where we assign the value to this variable. Okay, so we take it's 0 now, so it's 0 plus the first number. The first number, if we look at a tall list, it's just numbers from 0 to 1 to 100.
90.
Okay, 99.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So the first number going to be added to this is actually 0. The second number is number what? 1. It's going to be added to what is already there. We're going to get 1. This will be added to it. So just to show you what is going on, I'm going to be printing each time we go through the list. Okay, I'll print the results here just so that you see what is going on. Okay, does it make sense so far?
Yes, yes, it does.
Okay, so I'm gonna print this now, and you can see the result. Sorry. Oh, okay, I didn't run this line. Total is not visible yet. Can you see?
Yes, yes.
So we started from 0, 1, and then it keeps adding. We get 6. And if you do the computation manually, you see, it keeps adding. So if you add all the numbers 1 to 99, what do you get?
4950.
If it's correct, you can check manually and see.
That's going to be a long one.
Yes, you can check manually and see.
Yeah, I think I appreciate it now.
Uh-huh.
It makes more sense. Yeah. Makes
Okay.
more sense.
Okay, so that's the value of the for loop and why we want to make use of it. And it makes more sense when you combine it with data structures like this, so that you can see immediately the context of using your for loop.
Okay. Great.
So Mohammed, does it make sense so far? Do you have any question? Is Mohammed here? Can you hear me? Okay. If you can't, you can unmute your microphone and then you can talk, or you can type. Yeah. Anyway, so this is how the loops work. Okay, and this is just one type of data structure. Okay, there's another. Yes, Mohammed, go ahead. Press on the microphone and you can talk.
Okay, hello?
Yes, Mohammed.
Sorry, I just joined now, and I think the part I met, it makes a lot of sense because I've been running through Python myself. I've been trying to learn Python for close to 2 years now, and the pace has been very, very slow. Maybe because it has been a solo effort. But sincerely, this part I met, I quite understood it before now.
Okay.
But coming into this class now, I must confess sincerely, it actually opened my eye to. It made me appreciate for loop more than I used to before now. So I think I want to confess I must have missed a lot because you said the class will start by 3 o'clock, but unfortunately somebody was with my phone before now. But I appreciate if we can have a recorded version dropped in the WhatsApp group.
All right.
So it really made a lot of sense. Thank you very much. And thanks for your time.
All right. You're welcome. Today, I don't want to make it too long. I'll just make it 1 hour. and then we can
Okay.
continue. Yeah, so that I won't overpack it, because when the video is even too long, it's also difficult to watch. So
Yeah.
within the 1 hour, yes, we can learn something very quickly. And I'll always introduce it like this so that immediately you see how to use the data structures. There are more, but today I want to stop here.
Mm.
And next time we will
Okay.
continue, and I'll go a little more into details and show you how to put it into use.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, if I may ask, sorry. Can I talk?
Yes, please go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, Mohammed, you can
Hello?
talk.
So far, is it on for loop? Is it only for loop you talked about today?
Today I talked about this is the introduction to data structures, but I combined it with the for loop.
Okay.
Yes, so the data structure that we looked at is the list data structure. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, and usually these are collections of different kinds of data that you can have. And looking at it this way, you might not see the importance of it until you see this kind of file. It's actually a file on the computer that is like an Excel sheet.
Mm.
And so I gave an example of how that file might look like if you read it in the computer. In our next section, I'll actually pull up a CSV file. Actually, what you can do is
Okay.
if you open an Excel sheet and you type in, you can save it as CSV. Good. And that data, when you read it into Python,
Okay.
it looks something like this.
Oh, okay.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
And this is where it makes sense, because especially when you start doing some data computations, you understand more about data structures, because it's basically the way we collect information.
Mm.
Good. And so if this data structure that I was explaining was, say we are in a classroom, right? And each student, we have a couple of information on the students. We can collect it like this and store it. And now when we come into Python, we can use it to do some computations. You see, for example, if I want to know the average age, I know how to get it. And using this data here, I can easily calculate the average age, right? Let me just write a simple for loop for you.
Sure.
Okay, so let me
Sure.
just say for student in CSV, all right? Okay, get me, and just so that it's easy for you to understand, let me create an average variable here, okay, and say it's 0. Get me the third item, all right? So it's going to be the third item, which is no, the second item rather. But I made a mistake here. Edmond pointed out to me, so let me correct it. It's supposed to be a number. Okay, so I picked the second item, which is index 1, and I add it to the average. You know how to calculate average is the total over the number of
Yes,
items.
over the number. Yes.
Yes. Okay, so I just add it to the average like that. Okay, so when I finish everything, I can now calculate my average simply like this. Okay, so that will be the average divided by the number of items in the CSV. See, so you can see. Oh, okay. Yes, let me fix this. I told you there was a problem here. I will fix that, and then you can see the computation. It works. Let me run the last line. You can see that the average is 11.0 years, right? So you see how you can actually, the for loop becomes a useful mechanism when you have collections. Yes. Yeah.
One. Oh, okay. Okay.
It's good, right?
Yes. It looks more appreciative, um, understanding it like this and seeing what it can be used for.
That's
Okay.
right.
I'm
That's the point.
finding more appreciative here because
Exactly,
now
exactly.
I can see data structure.
Yes,
I can
yes.
see how I'm going to call it out and look for the average of it. Obviously, maybe I could also look for the sum of it, the multiplication of it, and it looks more appreciative this way.
That's right. That's
Knowing
right.
what you can use
Yes,
the data
yes,
for. Yeah.
Yes.
yes.
Great. And that's the whole point of
I
this
think,
session.
I think,
So, mhm.
Yeah,
yes.
this is a serious master class that should be paid for a lot
For
because
now,
That's what I'm
I'm
thinking of.
giving you a taste of it so that next time you can support me and we,
What you would act,
definitely,
what you later sell to us.
yes,
definitely.
I
yes.
think this
It's
is like
appreciated
giving us
because
a taste of
Mhm.
what we will later pay for.
Oh yes, it
Yeah, so
looks more appreciative
you can
because
tell your friends they are missing a lot
mm,
so that they can join
mm,
and we all can learn a lot. For this, the
mm,
basics, I want to give the basics at least to a lot of the friends for free. But then there's
mm,
still a lot more that later on
mm,
with your support we can then learn together, because
mm,
Zoom and all
mm,
these arrangements, there's a lot of things. But so talk to your friends
mm,
and let them join and come and learn together with us.
okay. Okay.
But I hope you are dropping this the recorded video on
I will
the
share this.
for
I
this
will share
session.
this. Yes, I will share this for you. The
And
previous
I'll have
ones
to,
I
and then
dropped
I
it.
will have to, no, so I will have to go all over the group again to check all the videos you have dropped because I've been busy lately. I haven't been able to check all of the videos, but in my mind, I promised myself I'll go back again to check them because I've been working on some other resources. Like I
Yeah.
said, I've been learning Python for quite a while now, but because you don't get to see the application, you don't appreciate. Like I
Yes,
was telling someone
yes,
recently
yes,
that
yes, yes.
I
I
have
agree
learned
with
a
you.
lot in Python, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
kind of underestimating the skill I've learned. I have not been able to apply them in real time situations. So
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I
given
think
the
I know.
opportunity, give me the opportunity here to even just this little, just one or two example you've put out here, it
Mm-hmm,
has broadened my horizon on the areas of application where, because I've learned I've heard a lot about Python being used for data science, data analysis, and all the like.
mm-hmm,
But you begin to
mm-hmm,
wonder
mm-hmm.
how exactly.
Will you use
Is
it
it
So
for?
being done?
it's really
Yes, yes.
it's really something joyous yet seeing you applying them in data
Mm.
science. So, like I
Okay.
said, I believe this is a tip of what we would later pay for.
It is a tip of it, my brother. It's a tip of it.
Mm.
Definitely.
So,
Very
when is the
necessary.
next class coming up?
So
When is the next class
so
likely to
this
come up?
one I make it over the weekend on Saturdays because I'm
Okay,
thinking that by that
good.
time people are going to be at home or they may be less
All right,
busy. Yes. Okay,
all right,
so
all
I
right.
want to keep it at this time for now. I'm wondering also, again, based on what people say, whether to do it rather early in the morning or late in the evening.
Mm,
Because it maybe in the middle of the day, 3 p.m. is kind of around the middle, right? We've gone past
mm,
noon.
Yes.
So yes, so I'm thinking about it, and I'll ask folks what they think about it, whether to do it maybe somewhere 7 p.m. or early in the morning rather, and so that more people can join and we can have more fruitful discussions.
mm,
Okay. Oh well. Then you might as well. I do not know what your schedule is like.
Mm-hmm.
You might as well maybe give the opportunity because if you want to wait for a collection of people who
Mm-hmm.
would want to show interest, that might take a while. There are
Yeah.
people, maybe one or two people whose interest would be very, very keen on learning Python. So if you want to wait for a crowd for you to start that coaching, it might affect those other individuals who would want to start as soon as possible. So maybe my own suggestion, anyway, I don't want to start sounding selfish here, but maybe we should give opportunity to individuals. Maybe you should give that opportunity to individuals who would want to start learning as soon as possible. And from there, one would become two, two becoming three, and they will become crowd. But I think a journey of 1,000 miles a step. So a journey, a coaching of a crowd actually should start with some people. I do not know what your resources is like. Then since you are most likely to charge for that service, then I think you should consider those individuals who would want to start as soon as possible. My
Oh,
suggestion.
all right. All right. So I'll put you on my list as my first student, okay?
Thank you very much. So, do we need to